the Sounds of Chicago podcast, brought to you by the Chicago Music Guide. Hi, my name's Mark. On this podcast, we're going to talk about the diverse and very, very thriving Chicago local music scene. Today, we're going to be talking to two artists that can be seen on stages all over the Chicago area. Singer, songwriter, teacher, and author Carey and Farrell. And drummer, singer, solo artist, dancer from the bands The Gina Marie Swingtet, Gina and the Retroactive, and Gina Marie and the Golden Bucks, Gina DeGregorio. Hi, Gina. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
It's good to see you here today.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So I gotta usually with these things I have they're the questions that you have to ask everybody. So first off, are you from the Chicago area?
I am. I was born in Chicago.
Okay. Where?
I don't actually know that exact information,
not the hospital.
but my family was a South Side family, and then when school time came around, we moved out to the south suburbs. I was a graduate of Lamont High School,
Okay.
And then I moved right back to the city to go to college at Vandercook College of Music,
Excellent.
and then I've just been in and around my whole life. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm South Sider too, and I recently found some photographs of the hospital that I was born in that's since been torn down. So
Oh yeah.
I don't remember that time, but yeah, South Sider.
Details are foggy, but
Yeah, sure. But I'm here. So, what was your musical experience like growing up? Did you have a musical family?
Yeah, both my father and my mother were musicians. My mom played piano wonderfully. I grew up listening to her play, and my dad had a long history in the Chicagoland area as a band leader himself. Mm-hmm. He did the 50s doo-wop thing, the 4-part harmony, and
Very
ran some groups of his own. Actually, one of my groups, the Golden Bucks, I just stole that band name straight from him. That was one of his band names.
I was going to ask you about that name, where that came from.
Yeah, it's kind of an homage to my dad's band
cross
leading.
that one off.
Yeah.
Okay, and the Golden Bucks, and did they were they a touring band as your dad's band?
I don't know how far outside the Chicagoland region they may have gotten. Mostly they just worked in and around, just working bars and rooms and college functions and things like that.
Okay.
A passion project.
Okay,
So.
and did you ever see him play?
Personally, yeah, he would perform for
home,
me
yeah.
all the time, but no, not professionally. I think he had kind of hung that hat up. He was also a career English teacher, and he taught for CPS his entire career. So.
Yeah, that's my mom worked for. She was a teacher's aide in CPS too.
Yeah,
and one of my aunts as well. So, wow, Southside and teaching connections here too. Very cool. And was your mom musical too?
She played piano, but mostly just in the house. She took piano lessons, but she's the reason that I kind of picked up. The first thing I did was I begged my parents for piano lessons.
Oh, okay.
And I started musical life as a competitive classical pianist.
Competitive?
Yeah. My piano teacher was very, very serious, and I would frequently go to multiple competitions a year. I switched to the percussion focus in college, mostly because I wanted to teach band. And at the time, it wasn't possible to be a piano major and also be concert band focused. So I switched. In the middle there, I started doing percussion when I was around 10 years old.
Wow.
Got really into the marching band thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of college, through that first part of my life, I would go around to different states even and teach band camps and indoor drum lines. And that's how I spent most of my life.
And that's why you're doing, I saw in one of your bios, you were in a couple of drum lines for a couple of...
The Chicago Bears and Bulls. I don't do that so much anymore. It got to be a little bit much. But yeah, I played on those drum lines.
Oh, very, very cool.
Yeah.
And so when you were doing drums, was it strictly marching band drums, or were you doing kit too?
Most of my specialty was the marching band thing, but through my lessons, I had to be very well-rounded, so I picked up drum kit. When I started performing, though, I was more the four-mallet player, marimba, vibraphone, things like that. And that's what I specialized in when I was teaching competitive groups. I would teach them very technical level four-mallet playing. But not many bands want to budget the space or the money for an instrument like that.
Right,
so
marimba
drum kit becomes necessary, and I play drum kit in my own projects.
Okay. And so now do you push your students to compete musically?
Push, no. If they want to, depending on the student, whether or not it's a healthy environment for them or not to be competitive. But if they want to compete, I definitely take them in that direction.
Okay. And what is actually? I mean, it seems kind of strange to me. A music competition. I mean, it's like Battle of the Bands, or what is that exactly?
Well, for solo pianists, it's you learn classical repertoire. You're supposed to have a wide range, and then you play for judges panels. You either just get a rating for yourself, or they compare you to other performers. But most of what I do within that realm now is competitive marching bands, which is its own animal.
Yeah, I have a friend who was doing that for a while, and it's all age ranges doing that competitive marching band stuff. It's very, very, very interesting, and all over the country too. Okay, well, I was listening to through some of the songs and your different projects, and the one question that came up to me, and I got to ask you, do you consider yourself an old soul?
Oh, geez.
Because every project seems to draw very deeply on musical styles that have been around for a while.
That is very true. That is very true. I would guess in my influences, yes, but in my behavior, no. I like to operate on impulse. I'm one of the people for whom, as my dad says, all the flowers are beautiful. I see something or I hear a genre and I just think it's wonderful. I have a hard time picking one, which is sometimes a problem when you can't be a brand. But it's just, I like to make music as it speaks to me. So in that way, very new. But yes, I'm very heavily influenced by old styles.
Okay. And also another thought that was coming to my mind is musical chameleon. And I think I'd probably have to do 3 different interviews for you for the 3 different projects, because of the ideas like, I want to ask her about this, but we've got to be a little more concise. So how would you describe your style?
It like you said, it would depend on which facet. I would say the one common running theme would be in all my projects: eclectic, communicative. I like to be reaching people. It's not just about what I'm trying to say; it's about who I'm saying it to. So I like conversational and dramatic. I like there to be a lot of drive. I like there to be a lot of energy and punch, and even the softer, slower moving things have to be going somewhere. One of my influences, Connie Boswell, which I'm sure very few people know, would say it's got to have a beat. It's got to have a beat. It's got to be driving somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, myself included, and most musicians that I talk to, we know the superstars and all that, but we also have our little, like, there's this guy, he's out of, Peoria, and he's only put one single out, and I just love it. And it's like, nobody knows him, but I know him, and I love him, and I base my career on that.
Sure, yeah.
So it's really, really great. But as a singer, I got to ask you a tech question. You've got 3 different vocal styles that you do. With retroactive, it's a rock voice, and with the jazz thing I heard you do, that you know what it means to miss New Orleans.
Yeah.
I was listening. It was wonderful. And then the Golden Bucks. How do you prep your voice for each one?
I guess in the moment, in the performance moment, I don't really prepare myself for the style as much as I let go based on what the music needs from me. Okay. So based on the musicians I'm playing with, the style that we're playing in, I converse with them in what seems to be appropriate. But leading up to that moment is spending a lot of time with records, spending a lot of times with sounds. And weirdly enough, I encourage my students to do this too. Make fun of the sound that you're trying to create. So you don't want to be...
You got to go a little deeper on that. I'm not going to let you go.
Right.
So make fun of the sound that's coming out of your mouth.
Sort of. So kind of like a character artist picks out the things that stick out about a person and exaggerates them.
Caricature artist. Okay.
Yeah. In practice, sometimes I will do that. Like in the privacy of my own car, I will exaggerate the character features of as if I was making fun of it. Wow. If you think of somebody when they make fun of opera, they go like, and sometimes teachers use that as a way to get people to actually breathe correctly.
Sure. Could draw people out a little bit more too if they're not. pushing the sound that you want to hear from them. You might say, hey, wow. So there's a couple of thoughts popped into my head. Okay, do you remember the movie Dr. Strangelove?
Bear.
Okay. George C. Scott plays a general in that.
Sure.
And he was doing his just normal acting chops, and then Stanley Kubrick said to him, hey, George, give us one that's way over the top. Go just chew up the scenery and go crazy. And every time he did that, those are the takes they kept.
Sure,
So maybe something similar with your students is
It is. Like you want to play with the sound. There's a reason why they call it play music. And in your practice and in your prep time, you play with it. And then as you play, all of these things that you've picked up that are idiosyncratic to the sound become part of you. You ditch some of them, you absorb some of them. And then in the moment, you don't think about trying to be the sound. You think about being yourself within the music that you're immersed in at the moment. And what comes out is your own version of whatever the sound is.
Gotcha. So now let's, you're a songwriter, right? And I'm going to talk to you about Gina and the Golden Bucks.
Okay.
Fantastic band name, and we talked about that a little bit. Chicago's not a big country music town. It's not really known for country.
It's not.
How did you get into that?
It's not known for it, but surprisingly enough, the Chicago honky-tonk scene is flying under the larger media radar, but it's there and it's pretty strong. I started getting into this music as a dancer. I started swing dancing. Okay. And then I started finding all the partner social dances that happen around the city, some of which happen to be two-step country, things like that, particularly the early country. And when I was starting to do swing dancing, that introduced me to vintage jazz. Okay. And the cross between the vintage jazz scene among the dancers and the people who also dance to things like rockabilly and western swing and two-step kind of moves you into that old country, not so much the modern country, even though there is a big like line dance and country dance scene here. Okay. It's that vintage pod of people that create this community where this music can thrive. And that's where I was introduced and kind of brought along.
All right. When did you start doing this?
This music specifically? Yeah. Well, let's see. Maybe the early teens is when I started playing with this. Okay. Before that, I had done pretty exclusively the pop rock thing, the retroactive, just writing my own pop songs. And I started working with some people that had introduced me to Western swing, and I thought, well, this music is great too. Those flowers are beautiful too. And I started exploring the sound and just had to continue doing it. There's so much depth and cultural history and learning how it weaves in and out of the old jazz because all of the stuff kind of developed at the same. None of it was in a vacuum. Okay. It was just a fun journey. Yeah, well, I've been watching the live video that you did on TV of Feet Don't Fail Me Now. Yeah.
And there's a guy whose name's come up a couple times on this podcast. His name's Pat Kiner.
Oh, yeah.
And the good news is he's being cloned, so he can be play with everybody he needs to play with. So
he's a wonderful guitarist.
Oh, and a great guy, too.
Yeah, all around solid human being.
I had the chance to play with him twice, and
looking
for more, but it's hard to get him. Hey, Pat, are you free this day? No. So I'm trying to get him down here, too.
Yeah, sure.
So can you tell me about that song, Feet Don't Fail Me Now?
Absolutely. That was a song that I wrote after being out on a dance scene event. I was at Simon's.
Okay. I know Simon's.
If you're familiar with Simon's. And once a month, they would have the Western Elsons play.
Okay.
A really great band. And some of the honky-tonk scene in that narrow little bar strip will make dancing happen in the very small space. And I was teaching full-time band at the time. I had to be at school at 7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And I would tell myself, this thing starts at 8. I'm going to leave it just a little bit. I'm going to leave at 9:30. And then I find myself in the car at 1 o'clock in the morning going, how am I going to get up to start the school day? And that's exactly what that song is about, is that feeling of this feels so great right now. I'm enjoying myself so much. I love this music. I love this band. And you know what, it's going to hurt tomorrow morning, but it's really fun right now. And that's basically what the song is about, that moment.
Okay. Yeah, and the performance on there is fantastic. And who are some of the other guys?
Brendan Frank, he's an excellent guitarist. He's also a band director out in Antioch, and he does fabulous work. On that appearance, I had Edgar Gabriel, another Chicago fiddle playing staple. He's absolutely amazing. And Mary Holm on the bass. Okay. Yeah, she's fantastic too. And I had Pat. I think that was it for that appearance.
Yep, that was
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then you on just snare drum, right?
Yeah, the music is only really calls for very simple percussion. I used to sit behind a full drum kit when I played with this group.
Wow.
The band's really more comfortable when I'm able to direct from the front. The audience seems to like it when the visual component of having the lead up in front.
I'm trying to think of any band that I know. I mean, okay, right, Don Henley and some of the other Night Ranger, their drummer was their lead singer.
Sure.
So I remember he used to be on one side of the stage with the drums turned towards the side of the stage so he could look out at the audience while he was playing.
Right, yeah.
So it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's another band from New Orleans I know I saw where their drummer was front and center on full kit, but I can't remember the name of the band.
That's all right.
So, all right, so your recording, is that song going to be on the upcoming album?
It is. There's 2 originals on the album. Both are about elements of the Chicago honky-tonk, the Chicago rockabilly Western kind of scene, along with a handful of other reimagined. I did a lot of taking some super early songs from the early jazz tradition and reimagining them as things like spaghetti western or like in the Tennessee Waltz kind of vein.
See, now you brought up, there's another song that's out there right now on the social media and internet. Let me get this long title. Where the blue of the night meets the gold of the day.
Yes.
That's your Tennessee two-step, I think you called it?
Yeah, it's a waltz. Yeah, that's...
Great 3/4 feel. Feels old, but also repurposed, I guess is a word I'm thinking of. Where it sounds kind of current.
If you're familiar with the earliest popular recording of that song, it's actually an old Bing Crosby tune.
Oh, okay.
And it sounds, if you look it up on YouTube, you can find the original clip. It's from a movie, and it has a very different produced sound.
Okay.
And it was not reproduced in a variety of genres, but that was common of early folk, early country of the time. There was a lot of borrowing songs from one tradition and moving them into another. So we wanted to be in keeping with that tradition as our homage to the early American music experience and bring that into play. So
kind of like the Beatles covering "Till There Was You."
Exactly.
That's okay. So that's great. So when is the album coming out?
The full album's going to come out September 19th.
Wow. Super.
We have one more single drop that's going to be at the end of August.
Okay.
So you can be looking out for that. The album itself is going to be called Pastures of Plenty. The title track's already out, which is the title track is an homage to Woody Guthrie.
Okay.
And the people that he was trying to elevate in his work. So working American.
What's the next single? What song?
The next single is going to be one of the 2 originals. It's a secret till it drops.
Okay.
But if you follow the socials, we'll be dropping some hints.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I got to touch on a couple of other things then. I saw a video for you to do. Do you know what it means to Miss New Orleans?
Yes.
And so what is that band? Who are those guys?
That's not an active band. That was a COVID. We did a lot of COVID video projects similar to the rest of the world. The cool thing about what happened, which I mean, everybody being at home and not having live places to play was not fun at all. But one thing that was made possible by that situation is musicians from around the world were figuring out the tech thing, figuring out the online space, and we were able to put together these super groups of people who were experts in like 1930s swing, very early styles, and cherry pick the musicians based on the genre that we wanted to put together for the video. And it was a very fun process. I believe that one I was working with a band called the Swingin' Brothers out of Columbia. and they're the premier swing band in that country, from what I understand.
Okay.
And we got to work together on that recording. So.
Okay. And I mean, did I see you listed with another album of jazz standards, like that type of
Yes,
retro jazz standards?
Yes, there's two that are out. One was a pandemic remote recording project called Penthouse Serenade. I put that together with a drummer called Hal Smith. He's very influential in the genre. That's a great album that can be found on Bandcamp. And then just recently, I co-lead a 1930s swing band called Polisaro and His Rhythm. Polisaro is a stride pianist in Chicago who specializes in Fats Waller, and that album's out. We just put that out at the beginning of August. So, yeah.
When do you sleep?
Sleep is a crutch. That's what they said in drum corps.
All right. So, I also want to ask you about the rock band, Gina and the Retroactive. Also, draws a lot, I think, on older genres of rock and roll. And there's a song on there called Fast Lane.
Yes.
Okay. Very rhythmic. And can you talk a bit about it? Is that autobiographical?
Yes, mostly because of what you said. When do you sleep? I'm working in the public schools. I'm working with adjunct drum lines and marching bands, and then also doing all of this stuff. And that song is autobiographical in that way. It's about
so definitely like the last line of the song is, "I need a break from the life of Fast Lane." So that's definitely
essentially, yeah.
Okay. So where and when did you record Fast Lane?
Fast Lane was originally written and recorded with my first rock band, which was King by Friday. It was a joint effort with the bandmates that I worked with there, and they allowed me to bring in that rockabilly element. If you listen to some of that old stuff, there's a lot of old, like later punk, very, there was a lot of different kind of rock elements in there. But I was really happy that my bandmates let me bring in that kind of early rockabilly element for this song. And then when I moved on to Gina and the Retroactive, we just kept that in the mix because it's just such a fun song to play.
And are there any of the players in Retroactive that are also in the Golden Bucks?
Yes, Brendan Frank, the guitarist Brendan Frank, who's one of the most versatile guitarists that I know. He can jump in and he does jazz combos, and he does this, and one of my go-to calls.
Right. So any of the projects that you have, he's first one on.
Oh, he's
on
definitely,
speed dial.
Of course, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, and where did you record that? That's a full album of material there?
Yes. All of my work, aside from the compilation album, the Penthouse Serenade album, I've pretty much done with Rax Tracks right here in Chicago. They're a fantastic recording studio. Rick Barnes, the engineer, he's always been wonderfully attentive and professional and make sure that we get a solid product that we can put out, and they've taken very good care of us. So it's nice to support the local studio.
And he does all mixing and mastering and everything. Stuff.
Yeah, I go in there from the very beginning of the recording process to the end. We stick with that studio.
Okay. Well, thanks. Well, we're going to bring out our next guest, so
you're
very welcome to stay here, and we're going to have a little group chat together as well. So
okay.
So Gina, it's fantastic to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you as well.
Okay, now we're talking to Carey and Farrell, and again, another person who's just multi-talented. She's singing and songwriting and teaching, and you write books too.
I do. I've written one.
Okay. Is there what's the book about?
Well, my book is called Forward March, and I put it out myself in 2018 as a 40th birthday present for myself.
Oh, nice.
Just wanted to put it out into the world, and it's a young adult novel about marching band, which, is, I guess, going to be a running theme today.
And now, do you have a musical experience in marching band?
Absolutely. Past, present, and future.
Okay. Well, let's start in the past. Where's your past experience, and what instrument do you play?
Sure. I play trombone. That was actually my first instrument. It was an unorthodox choice for a very tiny little girl, as I was at the time. I could barely hold it, but I liked the way it felt, and I liked the sound it made. And my mom's best friend's husband had one.
Okay.
So,
it's a good Usually it's somebody has a dusty guitar in the corner that you pick up. But this
Exactly. This was a dusty trombone.
Okay, so you started off on trombone, but your bio says you started performing at 4 years old.
I sure did, yeah.
What was that exactly?
Well, my first experience on stage 4 and 5 was just, preschool, like preschool pageants and stuff. But from that time, I knew this is what I wanted to do. From being a little tambourine shaking angel in the Christmas pageant. It's like my first memory is being 2.5. And seeing some big kids do a performance for their theater summer camp. And even at that age, I was like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah. And did you grow up in the Chicago area?
No, I was born in Washington, D.C., and I grew up about an hour outside of D.C.
All right.
I've been here for a little over 20 years, though.
Wow, okay. What brought you to Chicago?
True love.
Oh, my. Okay.
Yeah, my now husband and I, we met online, which was a little different in, 1999, 2000. People were a little like, are you sure he's not a weirdo who lives in his mom's basement? Like, no, he's a weirdo who lives in his own apartment. And we've been together ever since. So
that's fantastic.
Worked out.
Okay. And you also have an education background.
I do. I have my master's in early childhood education, and I've been a preschool teacher. I'm going into my 20th year next week.
Wow,
teaching
fantastic.
preschool.
And do you teach music at school?
I do. I teach a regular preschool program, and I teach a toddler and caregiver program. And this semester, I'm going to teach music engineering.
Music engineering.
So exciting for
kids?
2, 3, 4s, and 5s and 6s. Yeah.
What exactly kind of engineering are you going to teach them?
We're going to learn about how sound is made and how instruments work. I'm even going to show them how to do like some mixing and producing. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds like a blast. What are you going to use for your teaching tools?
A lot of instruments that we happen to have. We're going to make our own instruments. I'm going to bring in my laptop and show them how I mix songs. And we're going to do a lot of listening. And I'm excited to curate those playlists.
Okay. And, well, that kind of leads me to a question. Listening to some of your recordings, it sounds like you have a lot of found instruments on there. There's one song, I'm sorry, the title escapes me, but it sounds like you have a kid's set of bells that you do soloing on.
Yes,
which song is that?
That would be, I think, Between the Covers, has some little glockenspiel on it.
Yeah.
My song Breathe With Me has a lot of found sound on it as well, just field recordings that I've taken. Right. There's a song called Perjury that has knitting needles as percussion on it.
Okay.
So whatever's in the studio, whatever's in my house.
Okay. And so what is your songwriting process like then?
I think it changes from song to song, honestly. I used to be very lyrics first.
Okay.
I used to be lyrics only, even, and not even think about putting music to it. And now I tend to be more music first. And, my favorite thing is probably doing the arranging and the producing.
Okay. And the album, it's Someone Else's Wings.
Yes.
Is the album, right? And the liner notes say that it was recorded in many, many, many places. It's a travelogue, right? I guess.
Yeah. Well, I stayed here. Everybody who recorded in their home studios. So my drummer, Pete McDade, is from Atlanta. My bassist, Todd Perkins, is from Michigan. I had a few local folks help. My best friends who were in Baltimore helped. I even had a friend in Sweden do some recording. We met during another collaborative music project, and I knew she was perfect for that particular song.
Okay.
So,
what did she do on that?
She sang vocals on the song Kindred, which is about very universal experience when you and your best friend from college reunite through the magic of 1990s boy bands. Maybe not universal.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if that would apply to me exactly.
No.
But, and the songs on the album are very diverse. There's a lot of different rhythms going on, a lot of different styles. And can you tell me what were some of the influences that you had in your musical journey?
Sure. Singer-songwriters, obviously, I'm very Lilith Fair generation.
Okay.
So Dar Williams and Ani DeFranco, Joni Mitchell, of course. Let's see, REM is another favorite of mine. And then a lot of pop music, the Monkees. Love the Monkees, love the Beach Boys, love Take That, and who are a British boy band, the aforementioned British boy band.
Right.
They show up a little bit. And
That's the one with Robbie Williams.
Absolutely it is, yes.
Yeah. He's, I had to learn, from where I used to live, I had to learn a few Robbie Williams songs, and I was like, oh, I play him really well. When I moved back to America, I just can't play him anymore because nobody knows.
I actually did a Robbie Williams cover project a few years ago
Robbie
for
Williams?
a fundraiser show. Yes,
Wow.
put together a full band. I think we confused everybody in the audience, but by the end, they loved it.
Yeah, they're fantastic songs. He's a huge star everywhere but in the United States. So it's really crazy. All right, so Elena by the Ocean was picked out from the album as a single.
Yes.
Is it about a lighthouse?
Good question. I'm going to be so pretentious here. It's based on a Salvador Dali painting.
Okay.
That was a prompt. My friend Julia Stork teaches songwriting at the Old Town School of Folk Music, and she gave everyone in the class this painting to work from. I want to say it's Woman at the Window.
Okay.
And everyone wanted to write very sad songs about how sad this woman was. And it made me think a lot of, like, I was thinking of Brandy, You're a Fine Girl, and other 70s songs where they romanticize the sad woman and, oh, I wish that I could save her.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this man romanticizing this woman that he has no idea who she is, but she looks sad. And so he likes that. He likes that she's sad.
My favorite of that 70s genre, have you heard Joanne by Michael Nesmith?
Oh, I love that song. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It should be up there with Brandy and all those as well.
Yes.
So what I really love about the production on Someone Else's Wings is it sounds equally both lush and stark at the same time. Was this a conscious effort of what you were going through for your production? Or?
I love that because that's what I love about other albums. I love that combination. Neutral Milk Hotel is like a huge favorite of mine, and I love that they did like all kinds of instruments and just like wild productions, and then it would also just be Jeff and his guitar and just singing the most heartbreaking vocal that you could ever possibly imagine.
Right.
So, you know, I don't like being just one thing, and I think Gina talked about that too. I like, it's hard to pick. So the stark and the lush and everything in between.
Right, absolutely. And one of the songs also that sticks out to me is Cassandra Sleeps.
Oh, yes.
And what's the time signature in the verses? Because I was like,
It's, I think, 5/8.
5/8. Yeah, very, very cool. And then for the choruses, it goes into 4/4. And
Yeah, it goes all over the place.
Okay.
It's fun. I tried it with a few, with a live band, and everyone was like, maybe not. But Pete was able to do it, Pete McDade, and that's John San Juan, local Chicago favorite, on that psychedelic guitar solo.
oh, yeah, that was my next question right here.
Yes.
Who did that amazing guitar solo?
Yes, and he whipped that out in about 5 minutes. I sent the song to him, and he texted me immediately, and this was like at midnight or something, so he had gone like right to his home studio and just wailed. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the amazing things about the technology these days is that you can send, it's like, oh, my friend, he could do this. He lives in San Francisco. I'll just send it to him, record a solo. I'm looking for something like this. And then, you know, a few moments later, you'll get something, and it's perfect. And it's just such an amazing time to be alive.
Exactly. And I don't think I would have been able to make this album without that.
Yeah, true. You know, another track that I really liked was Someone Else's Wings. I like that because it starts, again, stark, and then just builds up. And The lyrics, very, very poetic. Was that deep and personal, or is that written about another painting?
It's actually about an article I read about butterflies and how,
Wow.
like, it started very literal and, of course, is more figurative, metaphorical, however you want to say. But what I read is that butterflies, if they lose a wing, you can take a wing from another butterfly, literally someone else's wings,
Okay.
and give that butterfly a new wing.
Okay. Is it
And-
super glue? How does that
Yeah.
work exactly?
Good question, because I, being a songwriter and not a scientist, went,
Okay.
what a great metaphor, and wrote a song about
yeah,
it
sure.
instead of internalizing any of the details.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one where there's a whole brass choir and
Oh, yeah.
all sorts of stuff happening. And to bring Neutral Milk Hotel back, what I said to the people who were working on the song with me was Neutral Milk Hotel, but funneled through Wishing You Were Here by Chicago.
Wow. Okay.
And everyone, this is a testament to how great everyone I worked with was. They were all like, absolutely. I know exactly what that'll sound like.
Yeah. It's great to be working with like minds.
Yes.
And well, yeah. One of the great things of being a songwriter, you've got to have your antennas on all the time, because there's stuff that's happening all around you that you can pick up a line or a bit of a melody or something. I mean, I know on my phone, I've got 100 little melody clips
Right.
that just start humming to that. So I'm sure you've got the same. No.
Absolutely. A lot of things just running through my head, and a lot of scribbled notes in various notebooks that, I hope I don't lose.
Now you've got a series of cover albums out there.
I do.
And how did you start doing those projects?
Well, Facebook.
Okay.
Actually, a friend of mine introduced me to a Facebook group called Theme Music, where the idea was every week the leader of the group would give you a random theme, like songs by Elvis Costello, or songs that have colors in the title, or anything between that very specific or that very vague.
Okay.
And so this is how I started learning how to produce too. I got myself,
Two birds, one stone.
yeah, I got myself my little microphone. I got myself a little audio interface and started recording stuff and loved it. And that's how I met, I'd say 90% of the people on my album.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Being a huge Ruddles fan, I was drawn immediately to Let's Be Natural.
Yes.
How did you choose that one? Where did that one come from?
That was right after Neil Innes passed away, and it was one that I was just really feeling that day. I got to meet Neil,
Really?
I want to say maybe about 20 years ago, like right before I moved here,
Okay.
and I wrote a paper on the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band in
Wow.
undergrad. I gave it to him and he signed it, and he gave me an A+ on it, which was just the cutest
Yeah,
thing.
it's awesome.
And I still have it.
Oh yeah, you're framed, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So it's not often you can drop a Bonzo Dog.
No,
Man.
sadly.
I mean, probably most famous for being in Magical Mystery Tour.
Exactly, yeah. Death Cab for Cutie. You can say that's where Death Cab
Right,
gets
that's
its
where
name.
they got their name from. So I saw you perform solo
Yes,
at Make Music Day
right.
out on the riverside there, and it was really hot.
Oh,
that day.
so bad.
I was trying my best to stay in the shade and stay cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that was my second gig for that day.
me too. Ooh, it's bad.
It was a rough day, but a lot of fun and good cause. I like playing. This is my
Absolutely.
third year in a row playing for those
Yeah.
guys. Do you also have a band they play with?
I would love a full band. I do play with another band, which is a totally separate project.
Okay.
I would love to talk about
Okay,
in a
is
minute
that
too. Yeah.
the Glamour and Lace?
Clamor and
Clamor
Lace
and
Noise
Lace.
Brigade. Yeah.
Okay.
So marching band, again, a theme today. Clamor and Lace is a kind of all skills marching band for people of marginalized genders. So women, people who are non-binary, gender non-conforming, what have you. And we all come together and we wear shiny, sparkly clothes and we make a lot of noise together.
Yeah. Hey, I just met a marching drummer. recently.
No.
So maybe there can be a collaboration in the future. And so where do you perform with the Clamor and Lace Noise Brigade?
We perform pretty much everywhere. I always say from farmers markets to Lincoln Hall, because I think that encompasses every place that we've played. We just played at the beach, for example, at Blue Jay Cafe over at Loyola Beach.
Yeah.
We'll be playing at Bucktown Arts Fest coming up.
Okay.
We tour sometimes and play honk festivals. Honk is an activist brass band community. So groups like Clamor and Lace, they're all over the country and all over the world. And there are these festivals all over the world where just grown-up band nerds who never quite grew out of it come and just make noise and play songs for a whole weekend.
Okay, you play trombone in this?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Glad that you kept that skill up.
Absolutely. I let it lay dormant for a while, and then it was that theme music group. I let it slip that I played trombone, and all of a sudden people wanted to collaborate with me. They're like, ooh, I want a horn section. Like, I guess I'll try to play it again.
Yeah. And look where it's led you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic. So where is Clamor and Lace Noise Brigade playing next?
Next is Bucktown Arts Fest.
Bucktown's Art, and that's on...
That is, it's a week from today.
Okay, and that would be what date?
That's a good question. I know you're leading me there, and I honestly can't remember the date.
That would be August 25th.
Thank you.
And when is your next solo show?
My next solo show, I don't think it's going to be until October. I like to play a lot at City News Cafe. That's a favorite place of mine. But, I try to keep things updated on my website, careyandfarrell.com. I like to keep things updated on social media so people can follow me there and see if something new pops up before then.
Okay. Well, thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now I have both of our marching band members here. And first off, I want to ask you guys, as artists, who books your bands? Who books your acts?
Me, myself, and I.
Okay. And Gina, is?
It depends. Mostly myself. An independent artist always has to be independent, but I do work with Biosat Custom Productions, who sometimes put together some stuff for the downtown hotels, like when I work for the Coke d'Or, etc.
Okay.
So that company helps me out a lot.
Yeah, because you both play a wide range of places.
Yes.
And so you're booking House of Blues by yourself, and wow, that's fantastic. And Lincoln Hall, you said you played?
Yeah, that was a fundraiser called Covers for Cover that a friend of mine puts together, and it was super fun to get to play there.
Okay, and that was with the brass band.
That with the brass band and that Robbie Williams cover band that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Got to play Lincoln Hall a few times.
Yeah. So, I got to ask you guys though, what are some of the challenges that you guys are facing being a leader of a female band and as a female in the music industry in Chicago?
Being taken seriously.
Okay.
That can sometimes I wasn't prepared to go on those challenges because that's a whole different. Most of the challenges that I've faced had more to do with the compartmentalization of music in Chicago, and I guess that can, as the front woman, people can expect you to. Part of the expectation is that you're an ornament for the brand. You have to look like what you are producing, and that's for the booking. Part of the reason why I'm independent, I don't know about you, is one, booking agents don't like to see that I'm a working for the schools because it means that my schedule's tied up.
Right.
But also they want a marketable package. And sometimes I just got off the phone with somebody who's trying to help me book some things, and they said, can you take some of that country stuff off of your Instagram so that we can promote this jazz? We want them to go right to your Instagram and be able to see that you are jazz. And I can show them I'm jazz, I promise. And I don't know about you, but that's kind of more what I've run into.
You guys are both very, very diverse. There's a lot of stuff going on in your social media and Facebook stuff and online presence.
Yeah, for me, it's very similar. I kind of like to be able to do my own thing. I like to be very independent, and I honestly love booking gigs. I do it for Clamor and Lace as well as for myself. I I love making those connections, and I think it's really fun, and a lot of people don't. So
yeah,
I kind
I'm
of
one of
am
them.
happy to take the lead in Clamor and happy to do that for myself.
I got to ask you guys though. You're both in education. You're both teachers. How do you juggle? How do you balance everything? How do you kind of wear many hats and kind of put a line between that, or do you put a line between that stuff?
That's a really good question. One answer is that I have a planner that is
Okay.
extremely detailed.
Is that electronic or is that?
Oh, that's paper. I am all about paper. Also, I think being very privileged that my husband and I are a really good team, and if I am running around for gigs,
Right.
He's at home with the dog, and
Okay.
he can make dinner that night or whatever.
Sure.
Like having a really wonderful partner
It's
who
very, very supportive.
who supports that I do this, that I'm kind of chasing something that might seem kind of silly, but that I love.
Yeah, and it's who you are.
Yeah.
And it's why you guys are together. He's
Yeah.
with you for you. So
Yeah.
absolutely. And how about teaching? How do you juggle that and it seems all the other things you do?
Well, the schedule component requires a lot of energy, which I feel I still have, so I can keep up with that. And because I teach music, it's very cyclical.
Okay.
One feeds the other. The late nights to the early mornings are
Okay.
usually the spot where
Yes.
it really
Right.
because you have to be there in the morning
Sure.
to set up the class and be there for the kids, and you have to be in a
And
mindset
headspace, yeah.
that's there for them. So being very good about making sure that I'm getting sleep time in,
Yeah.
that I'm resting, eating well, taking care of myself, so that I can have that energy level. But for the most part, the schools I work with have been very supportive because I'm an active working professional in the subject that I'm teaching.
Right.
So I've had some great flexibility, and I'm in a district that's very supportive of the arts, which is wonderful. Parents and kids are wonderful about that. I've had some roadblocks with more of the freelance music community taking you seriously, because when you say you're a teacher, you're not the first thought to somebody who doesn't know you is you're not a real musician.
Right.
Even though so many of them have to pick up side work, side hustles, barista, Uber,
Yeah.
which I would never say that you're not a musician because you
Right.
supplement your
Right.
income.
Yeah,
But
it's
here I
your day
am.
gig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 100% of my income is musically made. 100%.
Right.
I make my living with music.
Sure.
So sometimes that can be a little bit of a barrier.
Right. There's that crazy or stupid phrase of those who can't teach, which is,
Right, yeah.
Right.
come on.
But it's gotten better, and most
Yeah.
people are very gracious. And
Yeah, I found that certainly, again, very lucky to
Yeah.
work for people who understand that this is something that's a part of me too, and they embrace it. And,
Right.
like the music engineering class I was telling you about, they want me to be able to be who I am in the classroom and bring all my talents and interests.
Yeah, well, I used to teach group ESL classes, and one of the students said, "Mark, we never see you sad. You're always having a good mood when you're here." I was like, "Well, first of all, you guys don't pay to see me sad, but also, you don't want to see just somebody come in here. I want you guys to be in an environment that's conducive to learning,
Right.
and for me it's all left at the door. Got to bring your A game."
Yes. Well, I'm sure you find that when you go out in the world and you do a performance or something, it charges you up to then bring it back
Right.
and share
Yeah.
it with the kids, and it keeps you from getting stale in either setting.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
Music is definitely, for me, it's a portrait of Dorian Gray.
Yes.
Definitely have that feeling of like, I did a gig
Yeah.
last night. I got all this youthful energy today.
Absolutely.
So it helps. It helps. Carey, I know you talked about you're picking up influences for songs just out of, you see a painting or this and that. One time I was at a Shonen Knife in-store appearance.
Oh, cool.
And after I saw them perform and got an autographed poster, I went home and picked up a guitar, and the song came out just within 5 minutes of coming home.
Awesome.
So I'm going to ask you guys, is that another type of thing? Where do you draw your most influences from for songwriting?
Time constraints
Okay.
and pressure.
Okay.
I really love to take songwriting classes because I feel like besides learning all kinds of great
Right.
ideas and different approaches to songwriting, there are deadlines. And the theme music group
Yes.
I talked about, also deadlines and a prompt. I love books about songwriting.
Yeah.
I love having a spark that might come from outside and then a deadline. It's very like externally motivated, I guess,
Right.
but I guess that's kind of what I need.
Yeah. Well, I look at there's two bands in particular. One's the Beatles. 7 years, 14 albums, and 2 albums per year, 4 non-album singles every year for
Right.
those years that they were together. And when they had deadlines, they were cranking out material. And they
Yeah.
had to. And then the other one was Creedence. They were together for
Yeah.
their heyday was 3 years. That's it. You know, look at what they did in 3 years. So Gina, how about you?
I'm a little strange.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Well, a lot of my songwriting is done in my day-to-day life, singing things to myself, and then if something pops in my head that I think is a good idea, a lot of people do that. They'll record the little germ or the seed.
Yeah.
But I don't sit down and put a song together from like either top to bottom, or either approach it finishing the words and then the music. It's kind of like putting together a puzzle. I'll get this
Okay.
piece in my head,
Right.
and I'll write that out and I'll put it there, and then something else will be like, okay, well, that's going to go later in the song, and then another piece will come, and as I'm putting it together, I've found that I learn more about myself because I'll step back and I'll be able to see the completed picture, and it's not until that moment that I know
Okay.
what my mind is processing
Yeah.
through
Gotcha.
is what it's about. Sometimes I realize something about myself that I was not conscious of before the end of that process. So.
Yeah. Well, how do you deal with writer's block?
Cry.
Yeah.
No.
Me too.
Yeah, sometimes I just figure it's a fallow season. It's,
Okay.
nothing is going to get written. And so it's a time where I need to, as Julia Cameron says, fill the well and
Okay.
listen to new things and read new stuff, get inspired in other ways. And the songs will come when they're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the songs will come when they're ready.
Right.
I don't mindfully sit down to say, I need to come up with 14 song ideas. I'm going through my life and things are popping in my head and I'm recording the germs. What I have to force myself to do is finish that.
Right.
Finish.
Yeah. Well, they can say, "Done is the engine of more."
Right,
is-
yeah.
is the
Yeah.
phrase, right?
So finishing the idea is more just making myself, okay, you have to you have all these puzzle pieces. You have to budget a moment to tie them all together, and then you'll have something. Usually that moment is last minute panic. So, yeah. Yeah.
There's a song idea. Last minute panic, that's for sure. I've done things as much as stuck on a line, go and take a shower
Right.
because I'm doing a task that is just mindless and clearing my head. And then come back and or something might pop in the shower while you're, an lyrical idea or something, and then come back and and finish it off or take a walk.
Yeah, take the dog for a walk.
Yeah.
I get a lot of good songwriting done
Sure.
taking the dog for a walk.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for collaborative work. Taking it to somebody else.
Yes.
Be like, I have everything, but this one line, and they'll say something that's, either wonderful or isn't, and you'll be like, I can do better than that. And no, but no, I love working collaboratively. Of course, crediting people, but
Of course.
Yes.
But,
you have to. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we didn't really talk too much about collaborative writings. Who are your songwriting partners?
The one person that I've done a lot of songwriting with is my friend Todd Perkins, who did the bass on my album.
Okay.
We have a collaborative project called Danger Noodle that is all like 60s psychedelia
Okay.
and bossa nova and sunshine pop. And I do most of my writing by myself, but with Todd, he would give me a song,
Right.
like give me music, and I would write lyrics to it, or vice versa. And that was a different kind of way of working than I usually do, and I really liked it.
Yeah. I don't get to do it as much as I feel like I would like to. I really like working with people on songs, and but Brendan Frank, we talked about him, my guitarist. The originals for the retroactive project that are more the rockabilly based, we wrote together. We wrote one called "Hit the Town" together that we really kind of like, and I'm looking forward to doing some writing with Pat because we're putting together some more material for the next Bucks album, which I know we're
fantastic.
putting this one out, but the next one's probably going to be most or all original.
Oh, wonderful.
Rather than the reimagined old jazz tunes like we did this first time around.
Yeah, I mean, because I always ask this question, and the question as far as like how to write a song, there is no, oh, well, first thing you do this, then you do this. No, it's either I got this lyric idea. You write the lyric idea and write around the lyrics. Or did you guys see the Beatles Get Back thing?
Yes.
It's not for. I tried to show to non-musicians, and they're like, it's like watching band practice. It's kind of boring. But there's that one segment. The whole 9 hours is worth it of that segment of Paul sitting there and hashing out "Get Back" on the bass. It's just
Of course.
just get chills with just thinking about like, okay, I know where this is going. I know where this is going. No, Paul, don't go there. Go here. Go here.
But my favorite way to write with people is to have them just send me their little noodles or germs or whatever. And the most successful collaborative project for me have been I either send them or they send to me like just a bunch of different ideas. And when you hear the one that stands out to you,
it's like, oh,
like,
let's do that one. Yeah.
What stands out to another person, I might like this idea better, but I know that this idea communicated to another person, which is valuable. And okay, we're going to run with that idea, because you're mutually excited about it, and that increases the probability that it's going to connect to an audience member as well.
Yeah, my song Reunion, my friend Elle came up with the first line, and they also said, like, let's write a song about this, or you should write a song about this.
Right.
They said, I'm not a songwriter, but I know you are. Like, write about this. And, like, maybe the second verse could be about this, and maybe the third verse could have this. And it's like, wow, thank you. You just wrote a song for me.
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing is another person takes you someplace that like hearing you talk, we have a completely different process.
Yeah.
So if I came at it from my angle, you bring something different is a possible outcome that I never would have gotten to on my own, which is why collaborative work is so fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wish the Chicago musicians would do more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've also done things where I'm not a blues artist, but I was like, oh, okay, E7, A7, B7. Where can I take this? And I started listening to a bunch of old blues records and say, they can write lyrics that are naughty but not dirty. And so I kind of, write in there about male, female, or relationship-wise. And so, just kind of put that together and came up with a song from that way.
Right.
There was another one I have called Like a Holiday that... it was a guy who was a chef, and he had a restaurant, and he was friends with him, and he was cooking something up, and he said, Mark, come here, check this out. Here, smell this. What? He goes, that's like a holiday. I'm going to write that one down, because that's going to be a song, and then I took that idea, and I said, okay, everything's going to be in threes. 3 verses, 3 things every verse that's going to be like a holiday. And I'm going to go through that.
I love it.
And it took me 6 months to come up with 3 things for each one of the tales for the choruses. But they songs are ready when they're ready.
Right. I've been doing imaginary collaborations lately.
Okay.
Like, what would it sound like if I wrote with Taylor Swift? It would sound like this. What if I wrote a song with Amy Mann? It would sound like this.
Right.
And that's getting me to places that I wouldn't necessarily go.
Sure.
I wrote a Fake Monkey song recently, and I really kind of like it, and I might play it out.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely. I cover What Am I Doing Hanging Around?
I love that one.
And that's always constantly in my sets. I never... And I always say, hey, I'm going to play a monkey song.
Right.
And everybody's like, What? What song are you playing?
Yep.
Oh, no. Got to go a little deeper on your monkeys.
Deep cuts.
Let's talk a little bit about playing live. So for Clamor and Lace, how do you prepare for a gig like that?
Mostly it's about getting in the headspace and getting the energy.
Okay.
And
So what do you do?
so the big thing for Clamor, I think, is costumes, honestly. We wear just kind of outlandish, sparkly, shiny, sequiny stuff. And as soon as I put on my Clamor wear, I'm ready. I am not Carey, the demure singer-songwriter. I am Carey, the trombone goddess, and I am ready to rock. And
Clothes make the woman.
clothes make the woman. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
fantastic. And so you got 3 different things to prepare for. So if, let's say, Golden Bucks show is coming up in 45 minutes.
Right.
Where's your headspace? Where are you at?
Well, aside from getting all the gear together, because being the band leader and the front person, that means I have to handle the merch. I have to handle the organization of the band members. I have to handle my drums because that's another piece. And then the look on top of that. And in vintage projects, that can sometimes be the stress point because I'm carrying all this physical stuff. And I have to get together the vintage outfit and the hair and try to look the part. So within that 45 minutes, there's a whirlwind of activity. And I might leave lots of things in my wake as I try to prepare.
Mine is usually a double espresso and make sure before I'm going to do a set, go to the bathroom. Because it's
Both very good ideas.
Yeah.
Because, just always never want to take a break mid-set and say, I'll be right back. Yeah. So, okay, what makes for a great gig?
I would say the audience performer connection.
Okay.
Not so much the size of the group, but just how with you they are. 10 people could be as rewarding to play for as 100 if they're with you, if they're really enjoying what you're doing, and there's a dynamic between yourself and the listener.
I agree. The beach gig that I was just telling you about for Clamor, half the audience was my preschool students. And some of the other audience were a couple who had just gotten engaged. And they came running. We were playing the Spice Girls. And we're dancing and singing. And my kids were dancing and singing. And random people on the beach were like, what is this happy thing happening? Let's come. Let's come to it and enjoy it. And yeah, it's all about the audience connection for me.
It's, trying to convey our love of songs and music and have it coming from here out to people. And when it connects like that, it's really, really special. It's really a special thing. Something happened last night. How do you guys handle hecklers? This is one of our tip segments here.
Okay.
How to handle a heckler.
Teacher face and teacher voice. This is where the education, I'm sure you feel the same way. I had a performance once where somebody decided to sing another song very loudly while I was singing. I think my song reminded them of another song. And I, summoned my most teacherly face and voice and said, I'm singing now. And they stopped.
There's something about that tone and that look that is deeply rooted in everybody's brain and just gets them right in the back. It works in everything, getting around venues,
Yeah.
Well, that was the next question I had in there. What of your teaching career and teaching backgrounds do you bring to your performances? And I guess that's a little bit of sternness for unruly audience members.
The sternness, but also the ability to connect with a group of people. I think, and being able to improvise. I think there's a lot of improvisation that happens as a teacher and as a performer, and being able to be like quick on your feet and go with the flow and go where your students or your audience are taking you where they need to go.
Is there a little bit of an element of stand-up comedy in that as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be entertaining. You have to be entertaining.
Yes.
But you have to, I kind of feel like everybody who's a successful musician is also a teacher in some way.
Right.
You're either mentoring or you have a private studio, and it's just part of part of being a good music teacher, part of being a good teacher is being out in the world experiencing what it is you're trying to communicate with your students. And then it comes back around with when you've broken down what you're doing in a way that allows you to explain it to another person, which makes you come back better at what you're doing. It's almost necessary.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me ask you guys, what are some of your favorite venues in Chicago? I know you mentioned City News Cafe.
City News Cafe.
Where's that located?
That's at Six Corners. It's on Cicero. So not too far away from where I am. So I love supporting local places.
That's big.
Montrose Saloon. I love to play Montrose Saloon.
Man, if you haven't gone to Honky Tonk Barbecue, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be one of my favorite spots. The shows are free. The food is great.
Yep.
And the owners are just fantastic people.
And does the Golden Bucks play there?
We're doing our album release there on
fantastic.
October 4th.
Okay.
So you can catch us at Honky Tonk Barbecue.
And what's the name of that album?
Pastures of Plenty.
Awesome. So you want to get that plug in there. For sure. Okay, so that's one venue you mentioned. You mentioned City News. What's another place that's people should go to check out music?
Oh, okay. Let's see. There's so
Simons.
many. There's so many
Simons,
good. We
yeah.
talked about Simons.
Old Town School. I'm a huge
School.
Old Town School fan and volunteer for years.
Oh,
so
wow. Fantastic.
yeah, and so I've gotten to play on the stages there, and that is a dream, getting to play on those stages.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a little starstruck standing up there, and it's like, oh yeah, I saw this guy here, and I saw this guy,
Yeah.
and saw Ivan Neville and Nicholas Tremulous, and
Right.
people
On
standing
and
right in
on.
this spot I'm standing. I'm not worthy.
Yes.
And so, do you got any people that you want to tell us about, musicians that you like in Chicago? He's like, oh, I got to go see this guy or go see this girl. Who are some of your favorites in town?
So many.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You mentioned the Western Elstons.
Yeah, they're
I'd say,
fantastic, yeah.
Also, another project involving some of those same folks, the Flat Five.
Okay.
If you love harmony and you love like the quirky 60s pop or just really like twisted lyrics and just virtuoso performances.
Oh,
That's the
fantastic.
Flat Five, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you want something completely else, there's an all-girl polka band called the Durndals, which is kind of awesome.
Wow.
I was briefly a Durndal.
Yeah. Oh, so was I.
I was a
Hey,
substitute Durndal
Really?
for their first few gigs.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Oh, it's
I was
such a
going to
small
ask
world.
if you knew some Durndals.
I do, and the accordion player. Well, you do the marching thing. You talked about honky, whatever.
Yeah.
Muka Patsa, the
Yes,
accordion player.
absolutely. Muka Patsa are a
Patsa is a
blast.
fun show.
Yeah, I've seen them a couple times. They're fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, I saw them at the Vic Theater once.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's outstanding. Okay, well, one of the questions I like to kind of wrap up here with is we're going to go one by one. Who's on your musical Mount Rushmore? Let's start with Carey.
I think I mentioned a few. Joni Mitchell is up there.
Okay. That's
Brian
one.
Wilson
Okay,
is
we'll
up
go
there.
We'll go one and one.
Oh, sorry.
So Joni Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell.
All right.
Connie Boswell.
Connie Boswell. Okay. Gonna let us know who I don't know. Who
Okay,
that
so
is.
do you know the Andrews Sisters?
Yes.
Whom I love. I love the Andrews Sisters, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy.
Right.
They were the precursor to the Andrews Sisters.
Wow.
The inspiration for the Andrews Sisters did a lot of really, really intricate 3-part harmony, and actually had a lot of influence on microphone technique, the beginnings of
Really?
microphone technique.
Oh, yeah.
So they're a very interesting group to get into. I used to be in a Boswell's tribute group called the Chicago Swell Sisters, which is a very niche audience of people who knew what we were referencing. But
that's
yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to Carey.
All right. This, Brian Wilson. Absolutely.
Okay. And for what aspect of
For-
Brian Wilson? 'Cause he's
for-
so much.
Yes, for musicality, for harmonies, for musical vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Back to you.
Okay, my old jazz people are going to give me some flack for this, but in terms of an influence on particularly my pop stuff, Gwen Stefani and the work that she did with No Doubt in the early albums,
Sure.
how they put the music and the words together, the writing styles, and some of the inflection was, just formative for me.
And just powerful too, which is fantastic.
Oh, good question. Oh, you know what? I was thinking about Dave Carter.
Dave
and of Dave Carter and Tracy Grammer, and died far too young and too soon. But while Dave was around, he released just beautiful, mystical folk country Americana music that I think everyone should hear. And not a lot of people outside like the folky circle have heard of him.
Okay, and what era would he have been recording in?
Late 90s, early aughts.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that recent.
Yes.
Wow.
I got to see him live a few times before he passed away.
Fantastic. Okay, number 3.
Number 3. Again, this is a question where there's just too many. There's too many. Let's see. But in terms of influence on my delivery, Sheila E.
Okay.
Sheila E.
I
Yeah.
was thinking about that when seeing you perform, because I know Sheila would have the timbales in front of her while she performed. And
With the retroactive project and the projects I did before that, that was a model for. I had a drum set player behind me, but I would do that from the front.
always adds a little something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, number 4.
All right. Dar Williams, very similar to Joni Mitchell in her influence on me, but she made me feel like it was possible to do this and to be a singer-songwriter. Joni was so aspirational, and Dar made me feel like this is something that I can try, something that I want to do. And yeah, just amazing singer-songwriter. And again, contemporary. I feel like I'm very
Right.
Lilith Fair again.
Yeah. I was always a big fan of Amy Mann.
Oh,
And
I love Amy Mann.
Yeah, she just came through Northwestern. Well, she played up in
Right,
Northwestern. It was
yeah.
amazing.
I do a lot of Amy Mann covers.
Oh, fantastic. Have a band I had in the 90s. The name of the band was J for Jules. And number 4.
Okay. I'm going to make a left turn.
All right.
Bob Wills.
Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys?
Yeah.
Okay.
The early Western swing stuff. And the nature with which the jazz world and the blues world played with the folk and the Western, how it became a.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that boy. You know.
Right. And country blues used to be a really big thing. It's ripe for a comeback.
Absolutely.
Okay. Last question. So, Carey, pick a number between 1 and 10.
7.
Okay. Would you rather to never have to sleep or never have to eat?
Never have to sleep.
Okay.
Sleep gets in the way.
Okay. Excellent. All right. And
Oh, the same. I like eating way too much.
okay.
I would not give that up.
Okay. But pick a number from 1 to 10, not including 7.
Not including
Yeah, don't include 7.
3.
3. Would you rather learn that mermaids or that fairies exist?
Fairies.
Okay, why is that?
From my understanding, their capabilities of impacting life.
Okay. Magic upon that one.
Mermaids.
Mermaids, why is that?
Fairies are a little too mischievous for me.
yeah.
I think they try to start some stuff.
Yeah.
But don't mermaids try to drown people?
Well, sirens do.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a difference.
Yeah, and stay away from leprechauns and sprites. They're
Yeah.
usually
As an Irish person, yes, stay away.
you have the Irish Irish goodbye song, right?
Yes, I do.
So, well, guys, thank you so much. This was so much fun today, and I learned a lot about a lot of different genres and different artists I'd never heard of before, and it was fantastic to talk to two amazing, multi-talented people.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank
for
you
having
so
us.
much.
Yes.
And it was very nice to meet you, too.
You too.